Hey folks, Robin Robbins here, founder of Technology Marketing Toolkit.com. And in this video, I want to talk about something extremely important if you're selling managed services, cybersecurity solutions in particular these days, or any kind of outsourced IT services and support. And that is never selling a client less than they need because of some emotional baggage that you have or that you perceive the client has. So let me tell you a story to drive this home and make a point. This is a picture of Zoe. Zoe is a Jack Russell terrorist. I've got two of them. She's one of them. And Zoe is, she's 14 years old. And about back in January of this year, she woke up one morning and I could tell she wasn't feeling well. So we took her to the vet to run some tests and see what was going on. And the vet said she had a fever. She said, I really couldn't tell what was wrong with her. They ran a few tests and they said, well, here's some antibiotics. Take this, give it to her and see how she does. So we take her home. We're giving her the antibiotics. Next day, we don't see any improvement. The next morning after that, we don't see any improvement, and she's getting worse because she's not eating, she's not drinking, she's laying around. So I call the vet back up and I say, look, these antibiotics are not working. Can we bring her in to have you take another look at her? Vet says, no problem, bring her in. Bring her in the morning, and the vet runs all kinds of tests all day on her. And around 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I get a phone call from the vet. And the vet says, we've run all kinds of tests on her. We've done x-rays, blood tests, urine tests, everything. We cannot determine what is wrong with her. The only thing we can do is an MRI, because that might determine there's a blockage somewhere that we can't see with an x-ray. So the only thing we could do is an MRI at this point to eliminate one other possibility. But we've done a lot to her today. So I say, okay, well, do you want me to bring her back the next day, like give her a rest tonight and bring her back the next morning to get the MRI done? And the vet says, oh, no, we could do the MRI today. And I said, well, but you said that you had already done a lot to her. And she goes, oh, well, what I meant was we already ran up your bill quite a bit. We've already, we've done all these tests and, we've already spent whatever the amount of money was. So I said, so the only reason you don't think we should do the MRI is because of money? And she said, well, I just don't want to run up your bill. See, in that moment, that vet was practicing malpractice because she was basing her advice and hesitating to give me advice and telling me, hey, this dog needs an MRI, based on nothing. I never said to her, look, don't run up the bill. I never indicated in any way that we were broke or struggling or didn't want to spend money. I just wanted my fur baby better. Okay, and I see this a lot. I see a lot of MSPs who, when they are advising a client, they hold back and hesitate on selling the client what the client really, truly, fully needs because they say to themselves, oh, that client will never spend that, or that client's too cheap, or they feel uncomfortable selling that to their clients. In fact, I have a good friend who is a business consultant to oral surgeons. And he said to me, he said, Robin, I'll tell you what, 95% of the people walking around today are underdiagnosed because the oral surgeon looks at what needs to be done and knows it's going to be a $100,000 bill. And instead of doing that, they kind of recommend to the client the minimal that needs to be done because they don't feel comfortable quoting that big of a fee. Now, you might be making that same mistake. And I know MSPs have done this. You may have done this yourself. You get with a prospect, you work up the quote. You look at the number, the amount of money to get the result that the client wants. And by looking at the number and based on nothing else, not based on what the client said their budget was, not based on what they said we want to keep the cost down, not based on anything other than your emotional weirdness about that amount of money, you reduce your price. Just based on that, and I know you've done it. I've seen people do it all the time. So one of the things that's really important is when you are making recommendations to a client, you're basing it on what will get them the highest and best result. And then they can determine if they don't want to spend the money, that's going to be on them. But it is your professional responsibility to make sure you are recommending the right and most valuable services to your clients. And the reason this is coming up in this video is right now we're in a 5-city roadshow tour for cybersecurity, cybersecurityroadshow.com. And I am interacting with a lot of MSPs who are now trying to talk to their clients about cybersecurity and about what needs to be done. And a lot of them are not buying new tools and adding on new services and new solutions and upgrading their backup or their whatever their cybersecurity solution looks like. It's going to be a backup, an antivirus, adding on things like ID agent, adding on employee training. They're not adding those things on. And when I ask them, why aren't you going to your clients and offering this, they say, well, I can't afford to absorb that cost. And I said, well, it's not a cost you absorb. You go back and you sell them an upgraded cybersecurity solution. And they'll say, oh, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. What do you mean you can't do that? And it's based on fear. They don't want to go back and tell their client, hey, I know I'm doing your managed services in that contract we wrote 3 years ago. Cybersecurity, all that threat landscape has changed, and the things that we're doing are good, but there are newer, better technologies that are coming on board right now. There's new services, new solutions I could offer you, and of course that's going to cost more money. So they feel guilty saying that. They feel weird going back and selling it. They feel like, okay, we'll add it in, but we'll just absorb the cost. See, all that is just weirdness. It's based on nothing but your emotions and your fears about money, about selling, and about value creation. Because right now today, with the threat landscape that there is, if you've had a client on a managed services contract for 3 years, 10 years maybe, and you've been doing the same thing for them over and over again, I can tell you it's practically going to be outdated today. There are new tools, there are new vendors that are out there that you need to know about and be offering to your clients. I mean, one in just particular is employee training, so that you can educate their employees, since we all know that's the #1 way cybercrime is going to happen to an organization. That's how viruses and ransomware gets installed. An employee clicks on an email that they shouldn't, or downloads a file somewhere that they shouldn't, and a lot of it's innocently done. They don't know. So if you're not adding that on, if you're not adding on something like ID agent, which is basically email password monitoring on the dark web. This is one of the vendors we have at the Cybersecurity Roadshow. So when someone's, like one of your clients' email addresses gets compromised in their password, they can alert you that this is being sold on the dark web, and you can notify your client immediately and say, hey, you need to change your password. You've been compromised, meaning someone's gotten a hold of your email and your password somewhere or somehow. So this is just a little bit of what we're talking about here, and this is one of the reasons why you need to join me at the Cybersecurity Roadshow. And if you click on the link right below this video, it'll take you to that website, and join me and all of the incredible speakers and vendors that we have at this day-and-a-half event to learn about the new threats, the new that are out there, and more importantly, the new tools, the new systems, the new software, the new vendors who can help you go back to your clients and sell them an upgraded, more advanced cybersecurity protection, because the threat landscape has definitely gotten more sophisticated. Cybercrime is at an all-time high. It is not going to be slowing down, and you need to be prepared to advise your clients. So right below this video here, there's a link, and you can go to the Cybersecurity Roadshow and join us. Now, I know you're probably wondering what the heck happened to Zoe, right? So we did do the MRI, and it eliminated that there was no blockage. So then one of the senior vets said the only thing it could be, after we ran all these tests and nothing else showed up, it's probably Rocky Mountain tick fever, because it shows up as a fever and they're very lethargic, and it doesn't show up on a blood test until 3 to 4 weeks later. So he said, look, we can put her on a specific antibiotic for that, and if it cures her, we know that's what it was. And that's exactly what it was. So we said, sure, let's do it. They put her on that antibiotic, and I tell you, within 24 hours, it was like a new dog. So Zoe is alive and doing well. I'm glad to report. And I went and found myself another vet, because I don't want a vet giving me advice based on what they think I can afford and what I can pay. Because that wasn't even the topic of conversation. I never said that was important to me. I want a vet, I want a professional who's going to tell me what's best for this little fur baby, right? I mean, look at her, she's adorable, right? And I've got Ozzy too over there, he's over there sleeping. So, yeah, make sure you're not doing the same thing to your clients. And again, click on the link below, join me at the Cybersecurity Roadshow. You're going to be very glad that you did.